So we're going to be joined by Sken. So this guy is this is a person who has been all over Telegram, Twitter, everywhere. So he's applied for what's it called? Membership of Bitcoin Unlimited. So we're actually going to talk about Craig Wright. So he's going to tell me why Craig Wright is a scammer. I think we'll see what he says. He's coming on in a second. Now I don't have a ton of time to do this, but I probably have about 30 minutes, and we can go from there. I don't know if we'll need more than 30 minutes. No, there's no better topic, Captain Kook. No better topic. We can talk about other stuff, but this is what Sken really wants to talk about whenever we're on Telegram. Might have started this a little too early. I apologize. Okay, so this is not a debate. This is a chat. I cannot edit it. Let me see if I can edit it. Let's see. Let me be able to edit the title. All right, can't edit the title. Sorry, bud. If you're listening. Give me 1 minute here. Remove the clickbait title. Why would I do that? Mr. Hodl? Huh, bud? Oh my God.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Sken. Can I call you Sken? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. We're live right now. I started this a little too early. I apologize, but
Yeah, that's okay, man.
so don't say anything bad. So welcome. So you, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, I'm Scan. I've been into Bitcoin for some time now, but it's pretty much just sitting on the side. It was really until BCH came into being that I kind of got more serious about it and started more getting into it. I did some minor contribution to ABC. I'm running on my own library, which is written in Scala for BCH. And other than that, I think I'm just hanging out on the BCH community for the most part, and I kind of feel at home there.
All right, cool. So you are always so I guess I know you from the Bitcoin Telegram groups, really, and then also on Twitter. You've also tweeted at me a lot.
And tweet, don't you have me blocked? Hold on.
I blocked you. I did block you. Yeah,
You're an asshole, man.
Yeah. Well, you're not the nicest person on the internet, in my opinion.
Man, you're American. You are, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I live in the U.S., but I grew up in Latin America, and people banter, and I'm sure like in other countries they do as well. They banter like this all the time. It's just I had I realize that you might think they have something against you or
Right.
other SB supporters, and I really don't.
Right.
I'm just there to just kind of have fun and just tease you, and sometimes things can get heated, but I don't have anything against you.
That's fair. That's fair. But I mean, I've seen you say a lot of pretty abrasive stuff to like Steve Shatters, for example.
Oh yeah, that's fun. I mean, so you mean like that I call him an alcoholic?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that doesn't seem very nice, right?
Yeah, it is not. It's not meant to be.
So why do you do it?
Well, because I want to get into people's skin. Like we're at a point like on this, I guess, the SB versus VCH debate that there's very little, it's like you get to the point that it's like a soccer team or something like that, like a football team. I'm with with the Packers and you're with the Bears, and I'm not gonna convince you to be like, hey, you should support the Packers because X, Y, and Z. So at that point it just gets like, especially someone like Steve. Like I'm sure there's a lot of people on the sidelines reading or watching like our conversations and whatnot. And to me, it just seems more like just kind of, I guess you can call it bullying, or you can call it like not being nice, just to kind of like just to kind of give an idea that like I'm just making fun of you or whatever. I don't take you seriously, but like that's just about it.
Do you think that do you think that there should be like consequences for calling Steve an alcoholic or
Well,
Calvin Ayre like a pedophile? Do you think people should just be allowed to say stuff like that or what?
so like the alcoholic thing, like I think people should be able to say it. Like there's like there's reasons, or there's like motives to call him that. Like if someone calls me an alcoholic, like I have no problems with alcohol. If someone calls me an alcoholic, like to me it doesn't matter. Like it wouldn't be like oh, okay, sure, like it will be irrelevant. Like if you get a call an alcoholic and then you get all worked up and it offends you, well, maybe there's some truth to it.
Well, I think that's fine. I think this does kind of point, I guess, to the difference in ideal, right? Because I guess if someone were like anonymous, so this goes to the anonymous and pseudonymous thing.
Sure.
If someone was anonymous, then they could just say that kind of stuff all the time, right?
Well, I have my face. If you want to imply that I'm anonymous, I have my face like on my Twitter handle. And
yeah, I don't think you're necessarily anonymous, but I guess I'm just saying there seems to be a general like difference in opinion in like what is like what should be acceptable, I guess, on the internet, right? Maybe.
Yeah, I think like a lot of people I mean, yeah, it goes both ways. Like, sometimes, like you said, like you have, I think like you have like this very negative impression of myself. Well, now that we're talking, I want to believe that you think, well, maybe it's not too bad. Like, I'm sure he's still bad, but maybe not too bad. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, on the internet, it's just it's just like it shouldn't be taken too seriously. Like, people get like like people. I've been victim of that. Like, if I call like some guy with a dress like a woman's dress, and I make fun of him, and then all of a sudden I have it happened to me in other communities that are involved, and then all of a sudden I had these people like doxing me and threatening me like to call my boss and all of that. Like what's the point of like why like I don't think you should take it that seriously. You should just let it go. Well, that's me.
Yeah, all right, so that's fine. So I guess let's yeah, let's move on here, right? Because
Sure.
we're doing this. I was saying we could talk about Craig Wright because you are very vehemently against Craig Wright. Okay.
I will say
Right?
so, yeah. I mean, yeah, you can say that I pretty much don't like anything he says at this point.
So why
Or
not?
does.
Why
Yeah, go
not?
ahead.
No. So why not? Why not?
Oh, why not? Like I when I got involved like with BCH and Craig kind of, he wasn't there from the beginning, but he got involved pretty soon. And he started to say like things that sound right to me. He had like this talk that he did in the Netherlands, like 2017, I want to say. I think it was just before the fork. You probably know better than me. And then he said, I think like when I heard him talking, he said like the things that I like. He said like he talks about competition and like very broad strokes. But I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds all good and nice. Let's do this, right? And then then some other stuff he talks, and I'm like, sure, that's like he says like, oh, we're gonna do like these opcodes. I remember that we're gonna do these opcodes that are just gonna like basically like revolutionize how like these the scripts are used, and because it is true that I think like until localbitcoin.com, most of the scripts were just pretty. I mean, most people didn't really use them. Like use the standard ones. And so to me, it was kind of exciting to see like, oh, okay, yeah, let's see what they do. Let's see what they deliver, and like. But after a while, then like I think it was in 2018. After a while, then hey, nothing's coming. It's just like the announcement of the announcement, and then like he started to get like distracted on these things, like fighting with what's his name, Peter Ryson, I think his last name is pronounced. And he started to pick up fights that all seem very pointless to me. Like like let's just like we're supposed to be in the same team. Like we're supposed to kind of just get it done. Like but I was willing to overlook everything nauseating that he does, everything annoying that he does, everything obnoxious, because I say, well, at the end of the day, he's gonna deliver like some cool stuff. So who cares if he's an asshole, right? Who cares if he goes to the Tokyo conference and they put like Metallica. I was in that conference. They put Metallica, and some people got upset about it. And for me, it was to this day. For me, it was just like, yeah, it was kind of fun. Like who cares?
All right. So hang on before we let's back up. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess first things first. So you mentioned the scripting language. Okay.
Sure.
So first things first. Craig Wright was the first person to talk about how Bitcoin could be used as a Turing machine, and then Clemens Lay verified that. And then if you talk with Clemens Lay, he talks about how if we enabled non-standard scripts, you could do a lot more complicated computation inside of Bitcoin. So
Sure.
Right now, non-standard scripts aren't really allowed in any version of Bitcoin. They're in some capacity allowed on the testnet of Bitcoin SV. So I guess I just want to, I mean, I understand maybe you're saying his stuff didn't come, like you haven't seen results of that just yet,
Sure.
but there are people building that right now. And I guess I would say doesn't that give him an air of legitimacy for understanding Bitcoin script better than just about anybody?
Like I think like I don't care about talk that much. Like you can do all the talk and all the theory and all that, but I'm more of a pragmatic person. I want to see like the thing that does what he's saying, And he gave if this was something like, well, we're working on this, but he get deadlines. Like he was like, okay, by June we're gonna have this, or by I think by November, I want to say we're gonna have that, and then 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 nothing happened, right? But then when you kind of push them with that, they were like, well, like the fork, like the SV fork was gonna happen, so then that's why we're not doing anything. I'm like, okay, and then now that they are they have their own chain, allowed to do their own thing, like still nothing happens, and then it's just more of this like, oh, well, you start to get like a personality thing, like what Craig said about the
Okay.
Binance guy. Like what's the point of that? Like,
all right, hang on.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I'm telling you that Craig Wright created Bitcoin and understands Bitcoin script better than anybody.
Yeah, you know that I don't believe that, and
so
like,
why not?
You cannot just tell me like, oh, this is how it is, and then for me to take it, right? Like,
hang on.
Yeah, go ahead.
With regard to Bitcoin script, I don't know anybody who understands Bitcoin script better than he does. Do you? And I just gave you an example of why.
Because of the Turing machine thing?
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't matter like what he says. Like, if he doesn't return it, like if he doesn't returning to anything tangible, he can say all these things and it doesn't matter. You can say like, oh, like Bitcoin is an artificial AI. But I have heard people especially in SV said something like that. And like, dude, like sure, it's an AI. Like how is that gonna get more users? How is that gonna get more people involved? Like,
Okay.
let's just land it on reality for a bit here.
Okay, but you're getting away from the point. I'm telling you that one point of information that proves Craig Wright's legitimacy is that he understands Bitcoin script better than anybody else.
I don't buy that. Yeah, I don't buy that, because if he did, then we will see something. If he was like really expert on script, we will see something done on script that we haven't seen before, and really we haven't seen anything like.
So I'm telling you, if you download the Bitcoin token, okay, that is a token platform. Go talk to Clemens Lay. And then you can actually see this stuff in action, or you can build this stuff in action, believe it or not, instead of just sitting around waiting for it, right? So I'm telling you, this stuff is tangible and it's happening. It may not be happening as fast as you'd like it to, but I'm giving one data point as to Craig Wright's legitimacy around Bitcoin script. Okay, so let's move on from this, because I actually don't think I think this is a hill you probably you don't want to die on here, I would imagine, right? Because we're both saying there's nothing tangible, but it seems to me that he understands script a lot better than anybody else. So that would be one evidence of maybe him having created Bitcoin script. Okay.
I don't think it's showing anything like that. But yeah, go ahead. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I haven't looked into like the whole. I haven't looked into the whole like Turing complete thing, because it seems just like a waste of time for me. But like that, that doesn't prove anything to me. Like, just say that, well, he make this statement just because Turing machines like don't actually could exist. I mean, like the non-Turing machines cannot actually exist because there's no such thing as infinite tape that just makes Bitcoin a Turing machine. Like, I think you're arguing semantics at that point, and until I see something that it brings value to users, I don't buy it.
Okay. All right. So then let's move on from script. Okay.
Sure.
Now, what else? So putting aside your personal grievances toward Craig Wright, why do you believe that he did not create Bitcoin?
Oh, I don't believe that he didn't create Bitcoin, because just there's no evidence for it. Like the most, and there's a lot of evidence saying that he forges a lot of evidence. No, it's not just like. Like Phil Wilson, that he makes the statement like, well, I'm the creator of Bitcoin, but he doesn't prove or disprove himself. He just kind of says it. And I feel like he has more credibility because of that than someone that has like a proven track of like forging stuff or faking stuff
So,
or going back to websites and then change things to make it seem like that. You know, like
so you think that Phil Wilson, who cannot prove anything that he says, and in fact, you think he has more legitimacy just because it can't be proven?
I think like the legitimacy compared to him is just very little. But I think like what like the legitimacy that Craig Wright has to see in less because he's proven to fake stuff. That's what I'm saying.
Like what?
You heard all this stuff like the faking like the blog post, faking like the some keys, faking like some signature, like the misleading signature that was like the proof that this is Satoshi Nakamoto, and then it's proven that it's just meaningless. And then later on, he himself saying, hold up, let me just finish this. He himself said he quoted I think Carl Sagan saying like, well, you know, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And then, like, he said he was going to do it and he was going to do it for real. You know, I'm all for that. If he signs the Genesis walk, then I'll be the first one saying, like, okay, yeah, Craig Wright is Satoshi Nakamoto. I'm not one of those guys that says, like, oh, well, you know, if he signs it, then he killed Satoshi or whatever. You know, I'm okay saying he is Satoshi Nakamoto. But even to his own standard, of proof to say like, okay, you know, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and here it is. Even you know, even according to own Craig's standard, he's not Satoshi. So like, why I should believe that he is, even when to his own standard, he doesn't qualify.
Okay, so hang on. So there's two. First thing, he never faked evidence. So you're saying that because he didn't sign the way you wanted him to sign, he faked something. He didn't fake something. He just didn't do what you wanted him to.
All right, you want to say mislead then?
He what?
Go ahead. Sorry, you gotta break down.
No, what did you say?
That he misled people, saying that you know, by doing what he did, he misled people by seeing like he could do it. When, you know, the easiest for him to do, or for anyone, is just to sign if he holds the keys. You know, there is nothing too complicated about that.
Okay,
but he chose not to do it.
Okay, so fine. Okay, I get
Sure.
your point about signing. Okay, so next question. So Gavin Andreessen, is he a liar or was he fooled?
I think he was fooled, and and maybe he didn't want to back down because he was already like in bad terms with the core people, so he kind of wanted to rock the boat. But that, you know, that's my guess. I don't think you can prove one way or other.
Do you think Gavin Andreessen doesn't understand signatures to the point where he was misled?
No, I think like he was misled by the original proof that Craig presented, and he kind of bought that, and then he didn't want to change his mind, or he was just he just want to pretend like, oh well, I just kind of, you know, just shut up, which is what he did.
So what is his benefit today, having not worked in Bitcoin for years, to still not correct himself then?
You know, I don't really know. I know very little about Gavin. I never talked to him in person. You know, I all I know is that he had already some problems with the core people to the point that they kicked him out. I'm sure like some people know him better, or they know his story better. So I cannot really say what are his, you know, ulterior motives, or why is he doing things that he does.
Okay, so then what about Ian Grigg? Is Ian Grigg a liar?
I don't know who that is.
So Ian Grigg is the inventor of triple ledger accounting. So he is also now involved in EOS, and he claims that Craig Wright communicated with him as Satoshi Nakamoto, and that Craig Wright created Bitcoin.
Are you talking about Larimer? No, right?
Nope. Ian Grigg. EIANGRIGG.
Yeah, Grigg. No, he doesn't. You know, like that's testimony. It just doesn't impress me at all. You know, anyone can be fooled. I mean, yeah, like that's pretty clear.
So Ian Grigg, the inventor of triple ledger accounting,
he could be the Pope. He could be the Pope for I care for, and I would still say the same thing, man. Like, you cannot, just because he is the creator of some software and he was involved in the early, that doesn't mean he cannot be fooled.
I just want to know if Ian Grigg, John Matonis, and Gavin Andreessen were all either dumb enough to be misled or something else. I just want to know about that.
I think it's a combination of being misled and also probably just have their own agendas, and they kind of want to put like a crank on cores and block streams good gear. And I think like maybe they did it out of spite. This is all speculation on both sides.
It's not speculation. I'm telling you, there's 3 people that are personally attesting to Craig Wright's legitimacy as the
And but also Calvin. Calvin is also testing for him. Like there's a lot of people that test for him. Ryan, like what does that prove? Nothing.
Okay, but those other 3 people, John Matonis being the 3rd, are all people who say that they were proven in private about this. And Ian Grigg was the inventor of triple ledger accounting. You didn't know who he was, it sounded like, before this started.
Yeah.
So I encourage you to look up who he is and his story around this.
It doesn't change. It doesn't change anything. Like
it won't change anything. Okay.
Right. Because he's still just a person. It's still the statement of a person. No one knows what exactly happened in that secret meeting, so called. No one knows if they have like a secret deal.
Right.
No one knows if he's getting paid, or he's not, or he has some ulterior motives. There's you have to make a lot of assumptions to believe that just because this guy Matonis and Greg is his name, he said it, then and he has like this clout and he has this reputation, then it must be true. That is not enough for me.
Okay. So we'll move on.
Sure.
Because again, there's too much evidence for me to cover probably in the amount of time that we're gonna go through. So I'll move on to the next.
Yeah, but you still, I think like you still don't want to address like why Craig doesn't want to be up to the standard that Craig himself put for proving that he's Satoshi.
So I think it actually makes a lot of sense if you listen to what he's been saying probably since 2015. If you actually understand the predicament that he's been in, and there's a few of them. Okay, so the first issue would be that he never came out as Satoshi Nakamoto. He was doxxed as Satoshi Nakamoto by 2 magazines / papers or whatever, right? Wired and Gizmodo, right? Now, how that information was leaked would be the first question, okay? Because there were emails of his that were leaked to Wired and Gizmodo. So how did that happen? Unless you think Craig did that himself, okay?
Well, it's not like the first time, or it's not like
right. I know. Craig is the mastermind, and he leaked it all himself. Sure, fine, okay.
I mean, didn't he? I mean, just didn't he hire a PR team, or like a PR team was involved in his outing?
No, well, according to Andrew O'Hagan, there was a team dedicated to being PR. Yes, but
sure.
Any company has PR, right? So
yeah, sure. But all I'm saying is not. I mean, it's obviously there's like a PR. There's a narrative, that there's an angle, there's a story that you want to be sold to us, right? So like, like just to say that this was an accident, because I remember earlier interviews with Craig that he said like, I'm just gonna do this and then disappear. Well, he didn't disappear. Like, I'm just gonna. Why would he say, okay, this is the proof, I'm gonna put it to this standard, and then just be like, you know what? No, I'm not gonna do it. Like if he was like he was being outed and he was like, this was all an accident. Like why he would first say like, I'm just gonna do it like this and then just back down.
Okay, all right. So hang on. This is, I think, the root issue why and again, this is the predicament that I believe he was put in, and I think that he handled this the least wrong way given the situation he was in, and I'll tell you why. And if you actually listen to the things he's been saying, you might come to this conclusion as well, okay?
Sure.
Now, he's very much against this idea of code is law, okay? And if you listen to him talk, he's very much into the like Western law. He really likes law. He thinks law is a good thing. Now, of course, that then is taken to the extreme that he's like a statist and he loves like overarching tyrannical government for whatever reason, okay, which of course is completely separate from law.
Well, he's suing someone just because they call him names on Twitter. That seems pretty tyrannical to me. But yeah, go ahead.
I think that people shouldn't be allowed to call people alcoholics and pedophiles and frauds without repercussions. I think that you have the ability to get I think liberal laws are there for a reason. Now,
well, they're only there in the UK, which is basically a fascist totally state. In America, we actually have a special law. In America, we have a law that it came out to defend us from this retarded law. You know,
we still have libel. We still have libel in the United States.
Yeah, but it's retarded, man. It's nothing compared to.
Okay.
It's nothing compared to how it is in the UK. That's why they're suing that guy. I mean,
Let me finish the point.
Yeah.
If I created Bitcoin, and everyone inside of Bitcoin was convinced that possession of a key proved identity, you would set a very bad standard to go along with that if you believed in something like law. And what I mean by that is that, for example, and I've given this example even just earlier today, is if I steal the keys to your car, that doesn't mean that I own your car. That would be ridiculous. If I steal the contract to your house, that doesn't mean that I own your house, right? So the entire idea of keys proving ownership, and this is actually something, if you listen to Joseph von Perling, who, if you know who he is, he gave an interview to Bitcoin Magazine right around 2015 or 2016. And he said at the exact same time that he thinks that Craig Wright was put in an impossible position, and he did the least wrong thing he could do, and he showed the world what cryptography does and doesn't do. And if you want to live in a world where cryptography proves ownership or identity, you're talking about a dystopian world where people that execute malware, for example, can steal identity, they can steal ownership, and they can.
Yeah, but it's a very different. It is a very different thing. It's a very different thing that someone steal my Gmail, or my Facebook account. Someone hack into it, than signing the Genesis block. You know, like having the keys for the Genesis block. That's two very different things. And you know, there's one thing. I'm not saying if he signs the block that, you know, then that must be absolute truth. I'm saying that's evidence. That's enough evidence for me. I think like that. You know, for me, it's a matter of probabilities. Hold on, it's a matter of probabilities. Like, what is more likely that Craig knew Satoshi Nakamoto and then he somehow steal the Genesis block keys and then end up with him and then he goes and signs it, or you know, like, or he's Satoshi Nakamoto, right? If he signs it, to me, is more likely that you know, the latter, right? Because that's just a matter of what would be enough evidence for me. And you know, I know there's a lot of people out there that maybe not a lot, but some that still will say, well, no, that you know, that someone will just steal it, and you know, like, that's not him, you know.
But you're misunderstanding the point here, okay? Because the point isn't to prove that if I was him, I wouldn't care one bit what someone like you thinks, okay? The point here would be, if I'm creating a system, a protocol, an entire...
Well, you're wrong about that, because he cares that he's Satoshi Nakamoto. Otherwise, he wouldn't have sued like that. You know, I don't even know his name. Like the Lightning Network guy, like from the UK.
Peter
podcaster. Yeah, that guy. Like, if he didn't care, why would he sue him? You know, like, he obviously cares. He obviously cares about his image. Like, that's the point. Like, that's why he's suing people. That's why he wants to silence people, because
it provides him the opportunity to prove the identity under law instead of proving it under the court of public Twitter opinion with the signing of a key.
I mean, you're saying that going through the UK laws and then having Peter, is his name? Peter prove like a negative, that will prove that he's Satoshi Nakamoto. That's what you're saying?
I think it would be more convincing to show...
I mean, come on, man.
No, let me finish. I think it would be more convincing to show someone, here are the emails I used to register for the licenses that I used to create the code. Here's the computer I had that created the code. Here's showing actual evidence in a court of law to prove ownership, instead of just saying, look, I signed with a key, therefore I own this and I am this person. Because what he's saying is that if I do that and that alone, I'm not actually proving anything.
Well, and you know, I think like in Bitcoin, the standard of signing messages, that takes a lot of weight. You know, like as you said, it's not like, it might not convince everyone, but I think like in this space, it's pretty convincing. And yeah, to say like, like to say like, oh well, he wants to do it even better. Like, what then why? No, it's okay for me. I'm all for it. Like, let him prove this is the computer that I use, or this is like this is where I get the website license or whatever. But why in that list of stuff? Why is not like, and here's my I'm signing the Genesis block. Like, why is not that part of the proof?
So again, you're missing the whole point that he is coming from is that what you and the Bitcoin community think of as a standard of proof isn't actually a proof of anything. And
he used to believe it was.
Since when?
Well, didn't he wrote that article saying that the extraordinary proof required extraordinary evidence, and then he make like the reference that he was going to sign the block? Like, that's what he said.
He wrote an article that referenced Jean-Paul Sartre, who was the Nobel Prize winner.
Am I talking about? Let's see, we're talking about the same article. He deleted it, so it's pretty tricky to pull it off.
Now, again, none of this. We're getting stuck on the whole signing thing because we haven't even talked about the fact that.
Well, we can move on, man. I mean, I feel like it's. I think it should be enough for a lot of people, for him to sign, and there's no good reason for him not to sign, and he will convince the people in the Bitcoin or crypto community and outside of the crypto community as well. Not just oh, here's the computer that I did the code. Or here is the license. I know that reminds me. Didn't he like took a screenshot of him buying like some domain, and then it turned out that he had like the current date or something like that, and then he backtracked and said, well, I just wanted to kind of give an example. I'm not saying this was the actual screenshot, but it's a type of misleading thing that he does that just kind of. That's the part that annoys me, or that kind of like, why is he even doing that?
But
I mean, like, what's the point?
You just said that what he did was he posted something without any context. Did he say this is actually a screenshot of me doing this in 2009? And then people then take that and then they just run with it and say, oh, look, he said that this was a screenshot from 2009. We never said that.
Well, yeah, you're right, but it was pretty misleading to do that. But yeah, go ahead. I mean, I'm willing to pass that one, but yeah, it was pretty misleading, and that's just like a nice example of the misleading things he does. Obviously, I like good scammers. I'm not saying like he's a bad scammer, but good scammers don't get caught like outright lying. Although some do, but they always have like some exits to take. Yeah, go ahead.
Who is he scamming?
I think the community, or the people that they want him to believe someone who he's not. And I want to get into this. Like, if you want to just keep moving on, I want to get into this. What is the advantage for him to be Satoshi? Like, what do we gain from what does SV gain? Like, if he's Satoshi or not? Well, I'm saying that recognition. I'm not saying like
it's truth. So there's truth. So
yeah, but if he's the same guy, if he's the guy that had the talent to put like Bitcoin together, then it should surely, I mean, not necessarily, but then like that's a really good asset to have in your SV coin, and then you just kind of gonna prove it through things that you will do to say, yeah, look at all this innovation, look at all these cool things, look at all those, I'm all for that.
No,
I'm all for that.
Okay, but there's something very important to me, which is truth. So I actually have a problem with people like I would prefer that the truth was known. Isn't that important to you, that if it's the truth and everyone is saying that's not the truth, but it is the truth, it's important to me that the truth is actually is widespread.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. The truth is important, but is it important for us or for people to recognize him as Satoshi? Like, I know that you're all for truth and all that, but like, is that something that like, oh, let's just sue everyone and then let's just get delisted everywhere and then let's just lose just because we want Craig to be recognized as Satoshi? Like, is that something?
I don't actually care if you think he's Satoshi, and I don't really care if anyone else thinks he's Satoshi, but I care personally about the fact that I really like Bitcoin and I really want Bitcoin to succeed. And I think it's important that people who think they know better than Satoshi understand that I hope that people that are newly getting into Bitcoin aren't fooled by people that run BTC and BCH into thinking that they're buying Bitcoin, because they're not buying into what was actually created as Bitcoin. So that's actually what bothers me the most. And I think as part of that, if someone created Bitcoin and they were saying, hey guys, all those things aren't what I created, this actually is, I think that's actually important information.
I mean, like, I think like you're underestimating the people that buy these coins. I'm sure there's a lot of stupid people out there, but you know, it's kind of like that core that core narrative that says like, oh, the noobs are getting confused with Bitcoin's Cash because, you know, because Roger calls it Bitcoin.com or whatever. You know, like, I don't think people are that stupid, especially when it comes to such a like new territory. You know, a lot of people are not familiar with it. They're very careful with it, or they just kind of, you know, they're not that reckless. And I think like if they fall for it, if they think like they're buying something that is not, well, you know, I mean, like, it's really, the information is out there. You know, the information is out there to make an informed decision. And you know, like, you know, like it's up to every person.
You're right. Yeah, I think this was actually pointless.
Sure.
Looking back, I think this was actually pointless. I don't know what I expected to get out of this. So,
Are you getting mad, man? Come on.
oh no, sorry.
What else do you want to talk about?
I'm not mad. I think I'm running out of time, but I'll give. Let's have 5 minutes here, and you can tell me why BSV is inferior to BCH.
Inferior, and you know, I don't even think it's inferior. I think it's just a valid. You know, it's like we hold on. Let me just finish this. We are like we are an expedition, right? Like Bitcoin is going into uncharted territory, right? And then we're just a group of people, and then you get to a point where in this group, a part of the group decided, hey, you know, guys, we don't want to take this Lightning Network Segwit route. We're just gonna go over here. We're gonna explore big blocks, or we're gonna explore this thing. Like good luck, guys. Like, okay, bye. You know, like that's how it should be. Like when the BCH and BSV schism came, it should also be like that. Like, hey, you know, guys, we just want to do things this way. We're just gonna go that way. You know, and I'm like, you know, I had to make a decision, and I'm like, okay, yeah, like you guys go ahead. You know, that doesn't mean what I told you at the beginning. That doesn't mean I hate you. That doesn't mean like you know, like you guys are all like dumb and all of that. But I feel like I had to make a decision, and I feel like BCH has a better chance than BSV to become freedom money. Not free as in free, but freedom as in freedom, I guess, than any other coin. Like, you know, and I think like if you read the very early Satoshi writings, which is what got me excited about Bitcoin, it wasn't like, you know, when I really got into it, like 2011, 2012, not for a moment I even thought about like, oh, you know, I'm gonna get rich with this. You know, I'm just gonna hold, and this is gonna go to the moon. For me, it was cool that I can just go there and just buy some stuff, and you know, like this is just going outside of the system, right? To me, that was the cool part, and I feel like BCH is kind of carrying that forward, that this spirit of freedom, you know. That's why I choose BCH over BSV.
So I guess my last question would be, should Bitcoin? So why should Bitcoin be limited in its ability to store data?
Why Bitcoin? What? Sorry.
So you say that I've heard you say, for example, that BSV, you know, we're going the route of just being a file storage in a some other not so nice terms about what the goals of BSV is. So
there's no shame on that if there's market for it.
Why should Bitcoin not be used for data storage?
Because I think like the focus was money first and foremost, and if you want to use it for data storage, you know what, you're welcome to do so. Like I'm not like, you know, like you guys are wrong, whatever, you know. This, as I said before, this is uncharted territory, and if you guys want to do the database in the world, then sure, like why, you know, great. You know, like there's value in people going to a path that leads to nowhere, you know, because at least we know that path goes there, you know. And I could be on that path, you could be on that path, and I'm sure as hell Bitcoin is in that path. So, you know, like there's no shame on that.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, fair. I think that it's a shame that BCH people want to centrally plan Bitcoin, though. That's what bothers me the most. But you know, again, you guys are welcome to experiment with central planning. I wish you luck with that.
Yeah, I don't think that's going that way for sure, man.
Okay, I do have to run. I apologize, but thanks for coming on. And
Yeah, thanks
we
for
will.
having me, man. And yeah, don't you know? I have nothing against you. Don't take it too personal.
I don't. I don't. Trust me. I do
All
not.
right, perfect. See ya.
Wonderful.